Are you serious? Are you serious? There's been an earthquake in Canada, a mega quake, 7.7. It's just right now 6:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this morning, and we've got to monitor it because we've had a mega quake in Canada. 7.7. 7.7 Canada, God's complete number. And it's the largest earthquake to hit Canada since 1949. Tsunami warnings in effect for Hawaii. For Hawaii. And meanwhile, Hurricane Sandy continues to get powerful. Is it the hurricane from hell? Is it Frankenstorm? What? It is just now, reports just now coming in. It turned north, headed directly toward Long Island, New York, New Jersey, and of course, as far as Washington, D.C. are in serious, dangerous position of the path of the storm. The perfect storm that will come ashore, folks, with high Category 1 or 2 hurricane winds, a high tide surge because of a new moon, a jet stream from the west, fuel injecting its swirl, and a northeasterner storm coming out of Canada looking to drop a foot of snow in West Virginia. Are you serious? But before you even worry about that, you got a tsunami warnings headed right for Hawaii. My wife just texted me and said, Paul, now there's 4-foot waves near Honolulu. They're expecting Maui. You are in direct pinpoint highest point of energy coming from this mega quake in Canada. I want to thank Ben of Indonesia for getting me information early in the middle of the night early. And here we go. Here's what it says. A magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck off the west coast of Canada. But there was no reports of any major damage or casualties, but it's early. Residents in parts of the British Columbia were evacuated, but the Providence appears to have escaped the biggest quake in Canada since 1949. The U.S. Geological Survey said the powerful quake hit the Queen Charlotte Islands a little bit after 8 p.m. Pacific Coast time. The depth was about 3 miles. The magnitude 7.7. People felt it. It was brutal. But we're praying and believing that they'll be okay. Now, folks, the first waves of a small tsunami came ashore in Alaska, and there's still tsunami advisory for Alaska, northern Washington State, Oregon, northern California. Not all, but not as far as San Francisco. So that area is still under advisory for some tsunami activity. But the real danger, the real direct path of the energy of this mega quake is directed directly toward Hawaii. And I have to wonder what the President of the United States is thinking this morning. It is his home state, Hawaii, that's in the direct target of God's great tsunami coming off of a quake. Hopefully, and prayerfully, nothing major happens and it's not very big. I wonder how the President feels though right now as Washington, D.C., where the United States Capitol, the White House itself, is under serious advisory of a mega storm coming ashore. What about the United Nations? It's there with so much power. The governing power of the world is the United Nations headquarters. President Obama just spoke there, refused to meet with world leaders, but it's during a most critical time where a world is upside down, where economies are crashing, and where peace is still being pursued, but at the pleasure of the radical Islamic Muslims who speak peace in one hand, but honestly have the tip of the sword in the other. And oh, by the way, this is Halloween weekend. Frankenstorm, Sandy is real. Some call it the hurricane from hell. And I'm just wondering, will the perfect storm bring the perfect disaster upon America? Remember, this is still Muslim holy days, the Hajj. There in Mecca, millions of Muslims are marching in Mecca, praying for the destruction of America. We're called the Great Satan. Praying for the fall of what they believe is the modern day Roman Empire. Praying against democracy and freedom. Hating on Christians and Jews. You may say, Pastor, that is brutal to say that. Well, it's brutal to know what they're doing. It's brutal to understand the situation. And I wonder how the president's feeling as still information is leaking on how this radical Islamic Muslims attacked our U.S. consulate there in Libya, and how 4 of our diplomats were slaughtered, including United Nation Ambassador Stevens of America, the first UN ambassador to be killed since 1979. I wonder how the president's feeling about his hometown of Chicago. You say, why are you worried about Chicago? The earthquakes in Canada, the tsunami's going to Hawaii, and the storms coming ashore in Washington, D.C. to New York. Because Chicago's where he came. That's his political seat. That's where he emerged from. I'm just throwing it out there as a concern, because you have to understand every natural storm, not necessarily where it hits at, but every spiritual situation has manifestations in the physical. I've been saying this for a while, and you know it's true. It continues to happen. Where there is spiritual confusion, spiritual storms, spiritual battles, many times, many times, there is natural storms and manifestations that coincide with it. I've got some encouraging news for those of you, though, in Hawaii. I'm saying again to those of you in Maui, please take cover, take shelter, run a little higher, because we don't know exactly how big this is. As I said, Heidi just texted me a moment ago saying, Paul, now the waves are 4 feet. So what's happening is the biggest waves are still yet to come. And it's going to be hours before we know the total impact of this mega quake, tsunami, headed toward Hawaii. The Bible says in Psalms 27 verse 1, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? For the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. New York City, those of you that are saved. Washington, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Maryland, New Jersey. Come on, everybody up there. I'm praying for you, Philadelphia. I'm praying for all of you with the blood of Christ. Those of you who are saved and know, be prepared. God's on your side. You may have to weather the storm, but not a hair of your head shall be lost, shall be perished. God has shared that with me, and that's why he gave me 4 days advanced revelation to tell the people who listen to my show every day, to tell them to go get food and water, batteries for flashlights, and blankets. Specifically, those 4 things, enough to last 3 weeks. There's going to be some major power outages. You want to be fully prepared. And our folks did respond, and they're going to be okay. The shelves now are empty. There's no milk. There's no water. I'm getting all kinds of reports. There's been a run on everything. I'm glad God gave us advance warning. This also, West Virginia, please, right now, get stuff prepared. A snow is coming, looks like, upon you. I'm not sure. The weather, this isn't in my spirit. This is just what they're reporting. Potentially a foot of snow. The Bible also says in Isaiah 43:2, Hawaii, when thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee, New York. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. Are you saved? I want to thank Ben of Indonesia, partner of our ministry, who got this stuff to me in the middle of the night. Thank you, Ben. You're right where you know all the action always happens with tsunamis in the past. Give your life to Jesus Christ, folks. We're running out of time. I'm going to try to stay with this. I'm going to stay with us today, believe me, as the events unfold right here on this YouTube channel.